Same business, different day. Hello and welcome to our final episode of Season 1. In this episode, Zeke and I discuss our first season's guests and what they mean to us. We are incredibly thankful for our listeners. You're all awesome. And we can't wait to share more content with you. Season 2 is coming soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Welcome back to the Same Business, Different Day podcast. Alyssa and I here for the recap of Season 1. How are you doing, Alyssa?
I'm doing fantastic.
We had a good season.
Yeah, I think so.
It was a bunch of great episodes, and I was so excited about it. And I'm really looking forward to what we're going to do for Season 2.
We got a lot coming.
Yes, we do. You know where I want to start is I want to start by reiterating really what the podcast is all about. I think that is real. It's important to understand that not only did we hear some good stories, we heard from some really good business people, and we heard a lot about them and their lives. But we wanted to talk about why that was so important, right? And I think that it was really important because it got to show so many other people that they're just like them, right?
Right.
That there are parallels of their stories or their upbringings, and that these have become very successful business people. And usually what we see out there in public is people giving just business advice, right? Occasionally you'll see people, try to be mentors and say, you can be better, you can do better, get out of the streets, or, whatever kind of speech they say about pulling up their, bootstraps. But sometimes you have to just tell your story. And when you tell your story, then others can kind of realize, hey, they're not much different than me. And look where they are today. Does that make sense?
Definitely. And I think it has a lot to do with community. You often look at just the people right around you and without thinking about what's going on just next to you.
Right.
And so a lot of these people, they come from so many different backgrounds, but they're all successful. So it's the idea that no matter where you came from, depending on where your focus is, that's where your success is.
Absolutely. And then I even get caught in conversations where some people say, why not stick to one industry or something like that, right? Why are you talking about you're talking to so many different types of businesses and so many different types of business people? But at the end of the day, they're all people, right?
Right.
But and I get what they're asking, because there's some disadvantage there, right? Because if you're all over the place, even advertisement wise, you can lose out, right? Because now the advertiser doesn't know who they're targeting. But at the end of the day, that's not as important to me and to us as it is that we talk to people who really are considering or thinking about going into business, and they get to actually see and hear some stories that they may have never heard before.
Right, absolutely.
And I got to hear some stories that I didn't think I'd ever heard before, right? And so let's kind of start off. Joe Green.
So for 13 years, I served as a parent in the PTA, the Parent Teacher Administration. The reason I did that, I said earlier, I didn't have a dad growing up. And I wanted to be that influence on campus. Maybe that only high five you were getting or only hug you got from a man ever was just from somebody else's dad who was there trying to make a difference.
Our first episode.
Yeah, that was our first episode. Yeah. And I mean, that one just jumped right out of the box. Now, a little bit from behind closed doors, it wasn't the first episode we recorded.
It wasn't. So we had a little bit of practice before going into that one.
Yeah. But it was the first episode that we released, and because we actually recorded the Espinosa's first.
Every now and then I think about getting up and having to go to work, but I was talking to Zeke about this last week. I think it's nice to, I have to really consider, I have the privilege to be able to make wine, and there's no doubt that it makes people happy when they come out and have a glass of wine. So
the best part about the job really is seeing folks out there tasting, drinking wine on the weekends and enjoying themselves. And we're kind of a nexus for people that want to come and have wine. But it's also, I think wine is a part of the human relationship. You get together with friends and family and celebrate or commiserate, whatever it is, you have a chance. And if you can do it with a glass of wine in a natural environment with a good view, that's what we're providing. Like Zeke said, a lot of folks will tell us, you're so close to San Diego, but it feels like I was really far away. I think that's what he was getting at.
Absolutely.
It feels like you've been on a little vacation.
Yeah.
You forget where you came from for a little bit, and you're really somewhere else for that time that you're there.
And the thing about the Espinosa's episode was, although we were, green, no pun intended, but we really, Pops was in here, right?
Yeah.
And we just really had a good time just talking to them. And they had just come, right, we're still kind of in the midst of this COVID craze and everything. And they just had such an amazing story.
They did. And that one was, I think, unique because we know them quite personally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm friends with them, you're friends with them. And so now we're learning things about our friends that we didn't know before. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think that episode just felt good, just to get closer to somebody.
It was. And I remember going to invite them. I just remember stopping by the winery and just saying, listen, I'd really like you guys to be, our first guest. And Roberto, who was a great conversationalist, right?
Yeah, yes.
And as is Noel. He was just like, wow. I said, have you done one before? He's like, no. And he said, well, how many have you done? I was like, none. But he was like, sure.
Right.
That's just so amazing. And I really, really do think it was a great episode and such a great story.
It was.
Yeah. People should, if you don't know about it, you should go back and listen to it. I mean, we're talking about folks that were caught overseas right when the pandemic hit with their whole family.
The kids.
And they had plans to, teach the kids in public schools and just, all of that, everything changed and they wound up just being in quarantine. And a lot of their plans changed, but they really came out of it still with a positive spirit.
Definitely. I went by their winery after our episode to say thank you. And it was raining, so we're all huddled in their tiny little cellar. Just drinking wine, having fun. They were life of the party with, a few strangers, a few people just there to visit the winery. Same atmosphere. They came back and started right back at it.
Well, people might ask, how we just, do our podcast with just sipping wine and just kind of enjoying things on like a personal yet business level. And, the Espinosas is one of those kind of episodes where you can understand it now because of who our friends are.
It's where we come from.
It's where we come from.
But then we had Joe Green.
So Joe Green was an amazing episode. I mean, it was a powerful episode. And another piece behind the scenes, we were writing out an outline for Joe Green. And you remember what he said? Joe was like, you can share your notes with each other, but don't tell me anything you're going to ask me.
Yeah, he was ready.
He was like, I'm not telling you nothing, Joe, let's go. Yeah. And he was 100% in. I mean, when he hit that switch, I mean, and anybody who knows Joe knows that switch really doesn't go off anyway. Big smile at all times. Gregarious was the word we used.
That was the word.
Yeah, during the episode. And, he stood right up to it. And he's the man. Joe is the man. And, actually possibly our most popular episode, but it certainly kicked everything off for us. And the reason why, going back a little bit, why it became our first episode is because in our minds, I won't say it, but I shouldn't say it, but arrogantly enough, we thought we'd help him get elected. It was it was right around election time. Remember when it was time to release it? Yeah. And it was just like, we need to help him, get into city council. And he did win.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then not too long ago, what we found out is that he also became deputy mayor. Now, if you remember the end of the episode, if you go back and listen to that one, which you all should, because it is actually, It's the one I still get the most texts about, just because of his story. Everybody loved his story. Everybody loved the way he told his story. And they were really excited about it. So most of you subscribers that still listen to our podcast probably listen to us because of that Joe Green episode first. So at the end of the episode, those of you who don't remember, Pops asked him, so I got one more question for you. Are you running for mayor again? And he said no. Right. He clearly said no.
Not interested.
Not interested. Not in the plans.
Don't tell people that.
And here he is. He's now the deputy mayor of Vista, California. So congratulations, Joe. We are happy for you. And we hope you're happy too. And any support that we can give you from the Same Business, Different Day podcast, we are 100% here and behind you. But
I think he's the right person for the job also. I mean, if you listen to that episode, community is what that man is about.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. And regardless of political lines or otherwise, he was all about the people. And the people know that. And that's what you find out when they all vote for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That episode's the one I shared with my grandma.
Beautiful.
She loved it.
Yeah. It's one of the first episodes I share as well.
Yeah.
So who was next?
Then we had Mark Gallo and Mark Wilson.
I remember that I wanted to be able to build something that was bigger than myself. I think I had that entrepreneurial disease early, and I think I recognized that early on, that I wanted to be in charge of making my own decisions and either surviving or failing because of the decisions that we made.
It's like if you don't have a plan B, you better make plan A work.
Right.
You know, and that was kind of what drove me.
Yeah.
You know,
Was that stressful?
Oh yeah. I quit my career at least 10 times in my first 7 years. I just happened to rehire myself 11. Which, it's crazy. It's crazy to look back at my history to kind of see the path I took and the different processes that went on in my head. And yeah, it was nuts.
The gentlemen.
Those are my guys.
They're fun.
Oh yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
I go way back with them, but and I even went over. Usually, I might bring a bottle of wine or something, to the episodes. You as well, but I went over to Belgian Beaver, picked up a couple crowlers,
That's right,
and and they were just so excited to sit down. I hadn't seen them in a long time. Obviously, one thing because of the pandemic, but also just because we're just too busy. We're running in all the directions that we're running in, and I'm just so proud of those guys, man. I mean, I met Mark Gallo when he was still at MetLife. Him and his partner Chris Rand, and then Mark Wilson was doing his own thing just individually, and like he told us in the episode, he was just trying to take on any business that he could for any price because he just wanted to keep his business going.
Right.
And then, I mean, those of you who don't know where he is now, I mean, listen to the accolades. They are off the charts. So I'm really proud of those guys. And, the fact that they actually sat down with us and told their whole story. Like we were saying at the beginning of the podcast, it's about the whole story, not just a piece of it. I know for sure those stories translate onto others.
Right.
I mean, those are your regular everyday stories, and look who these guys have become now. I think that was the first episode Pops didn't sit in on.
He wasn't with us. No.
And I think that's the one where he realized how excited he was about being a part of this.
Yeah.
Because immediately after listening to it, and we did it, that was our first two-parter, right? So we did a two-parter on that one because we did about an hour and a half.
That was a long one.
Yeah.
But we were having fun. That's why.
We were having a great time. And but Pops called me and he said, that was great. That was a great episode.
Good.
You were talking about Wilson,
yeah. Well, both Wilson and Gallo shared really personal stories with us. And I think that really, has a perspective to it. And if you listen to it, you can really see where they came from. And it means a lot, not to them, but I think to people who listen too. But Wilson was telling us that he was a little bit nervous about us releasing the episode he wasn't sure how he came off on it. I don't know if he listened to it beforehand, but he was nervous.
I think I sent him some excerpts and he was like, oh man, I don't know how I sounded. I don't know how your audience is going to take it. Yeah. But we can tell you right here and right now, Wilson, that people loved it.
People love it.
Yeah. No negative comments about any of our episodes, actually, which, maybe thanks to you.
Oh, wow.
But we're fortunate that, we pulled in the right guests and everything. And those guys were a big integral part of it taking off.
And I have a level of respect for them. It's hard to share certain personal stories about, where you came from and what you overcame. And he did. Yeah. And, people like that. So I'm glad we were able to share it. And I hope that he's proud of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He should be proud of it. And that one's in the archive. So, you guys make sure to check that episode out for sure as well. Definitely. That's a 2-parter. And trust me, it's worth the whole hour and a half. Listen to both parts. I mean, if you listen to the first part, you will definitely listen to the second part.
Easily. Well, we do the reveal at the end. So.
Oh, yeah. So who's next?
Don Sando.
Don Sando was awesome.
I love Don Sando.
Yeah, that was cool.
You can combine everything into one key metric that kind of gets it all. And so for me, that metric is referral percentage. What percent of my clients will refer me to somebody else, right? Because that kind of measures everything, right? And as long as I'm profitable, and while I'm doing that, it doesn't do any good to get referred if you're losing money, right? Hey, this guy's really cheap,
That was cool. He's so easygoing. Yeah. It's so easy to talk to.
He is.
And Pops was in on that episode. He
was.
Right. And then Don Sando, there's no way to underspeak this or overspeak this, but he knows business, period. You know what I'm saying? From his work with Forbes magazine, his own work, his consultation work, and so forth. Take a chance to speak to Don if you can. But if nothing else, listen to this episode because he dropped jewels.
He did.
Yeah.
He recommended the book, Creating Competitive Advantage, which I read.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Okay. I took a ton of notes out of it. I mean, I'm not a business owner, but I still learned from it, and there's things that I will apply to how I approach my interactions with people in business. Yeah. So it was a great idea. And I learned a lot from Don Sando.
He was awesome. And I really liked his real versatile approach to people. He's really into the diversity. And I would think Pops was the one that asked him a question about diversity, but he is really open to working with anybody who's got the ability or at least the potential to be successful. Right. And always open to give great advice. And the one thing also, not too long after that podcast, he sent us an announcement talking about his new business in waste management. Right. I mean, it's a monster thing, and it's really inventive. It's something that isn't happening much in the States at all. And what did I say? He was flying to next week. He's flying to Indianapolis. He's flying out to Indianapolis to do some training. Yeah. They got trucks they're flying in from overseas. Yeah.
He's a busy man.
He's a busy man again.
Yeah. Nonstop.
He's back in business. And so during that episode, we talked a lot about mergers and acquisitions and what kind of businesses that, you would take on. And he said he wanted to do something where he wasn't going to have to do too much work, but it was going to be profitable. And he found the right business for himself. And if you are one of those kind of people that are looking to find out, what's your future, what's your next step, Don kind of gave some keys to, being patient and figuring out what kind of business you want to buy. If you've got the kind of capital to buy a business and take over it and move into it, then Don gave some jewels there. So please listen back to that episode.
Definitely.
Yeah. What's next?
After Don, we had Storm Chadwick.
After being there for 2 years, I was promoted to a team lead position where I made money on every sale that everyone else made to try to pump them up and, go door to door with them a little bit and pump up their emotions, pump up their energy.
Oh, come on, man. You're the team lead at how old?
16.
Wow.
16 years old. You're a team leader. You're teaching sales, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. And then at 18, I became a manager. So I actually ran an entire team of 10 high school students.
Oh, wow.
Young Mr. Storm.
Yeah. Storm's the name. Again, like I said in the intro, aptly named.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a whirlwind.
Go, 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 go.
Yeah. He's not the last one in this of all of our episodes, but he was certainly a powerhouse. Storm was great. And really one of the reasons why I wanted to bring him in. I mean, we've got a long list of potential interviews, and we're going to bring all of those to you guys again in season 2. Please, stay tuned for what we've got coming for you. But as we look at the demographics, right, we look at the statistics, that's something that you got to do in business. And we see who's listening and who's not listening. I wanted to make sure that we reached out to the younger folks, the younger crowd a little bit, and because they've got business ideas as well.
Absolutely.
And they, not only do they have something to say, but we've got a lot to teach them.
Right.
And we can bring in the guests that can teach them. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about this 27-year-old entrepreneur. I mean, he was an entrepreneur for years before that.
Since he was like 12.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Again, like I said in the episode, I'm not sure some of the hours he was working was legal. Well, but he was definitely a hard worker. Yeah. And so I'm really proud of Storm. I remember first meeting him, and from then on, when he said, "My name is Stormy," I don't care how high his voice might have been at that point, because that's how young he was. He was Stormy.
Yeah.
He was Storm, and he epitomizes that. But then he told the story, right? He tells the story of his life growing up and how poor they were, and trying to, share snacks and all of that stuff as a family, and then kind of going off on his own way, and trying to make a dollar.
Right.
And moving on with life and starting businesses and hustling phones, which is something that we had in common too. But
I think most notably with Storm was not giving up.
Yeah.
There were so many obstacles for him. He just kept going. Not once did he say, "No, all right, I need to step." He was just like, "Oh, well, what's next? I can do it.
Right.
We're doing it."
Yeah.
And that's admirable.
Yeah. And I think that is pretty undeniable too, because he could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody could do it, he could do it.
Right.
And he talked about motivating a team and everything. Hey, what's going on, guys? We could do this.
Yeah.
He not only lifted himself up, but he lifted others.
Definitely.
So I'm really proud of him. Just as one of my young guys, I really think that he's done great things. And anybody just looking for the energy, looking to be inspired. If it's somebody younger than you or older than you, it really doesn't matter. What really matters is, do they give you a reason to believe that you can too?
Right.
And so that's kind of what we're doing here on this podcast, the Same Business, Different Day podcast. And again, congratulations to you, Storm, and more continued success. Let's keep working together. That podcast was very popular.
Definitely.
Oh, and you mentioned too about his strong social media following. He's out there.
I'm connected with him on LinkedIn. He has an amazing social media outreach. So it's easy to look him up, get connected. He has his own company. You can check him out, that kind of stuff. He's out there, and he's putting himself out there because he wants the business. He wants the networking.
Yeah.
So definitely look him up.
Storm Chadwick. All right. Who's next?
One of my favorites.
Okay.
This episode was a little different.
Okay.
It was Curtis and Layana.
Oh, yeah.
CNL Catering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you always want to own your own business?
No, that definitely was not. That was never on the table.
Fell into our laps.
Yeah, pretty much. We actually, when I was pregnant with our son and we had a baby shower, we had looked into catering, and it was really expensive. And we're like, really expensive for where we were in our life at that moment. And so we decided, he's like, I love to cook. He was doing it as for fun, like always like, oh, what am I going to make? I'm looking forward to what am I going to make? And I styled a table, and he made the food, and it was a huge success. All the food was good. It looked beautiful. People were like, who catered this? Like, can I get a business card?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, well, maybe we could do this. Yeah.
So Pops found that one. Actually,
Okay.
he reached out to them because they had catered an event that we had done over a year ago I don't even remember how long ago because it's been so long since we've been outside in public events, right? Yeah. It was a public event. They catered it and I mean, you know, with something like that, right? It's, I don't know if you call that a buffet style, but whatever it is, everybody's putting their finger in the same food, right?
Yeah, you can't do that anymore.
You can't do that anymore.
No.
So how do these kind of people stay in business?
Right.
And if you check out their Instagram, you can see how they stay in business.
Definitely.
They've got gorgeous pictures of amazing food. And, but yeah, they had catered this event, and in this empty warehouse type building, they just turned that place into just a great conversation place, because that's what you need when you're networking, right? You need the ability to walk around, shake hands or whatever, you know, like they say about me. A glass in the left hand, shake hands with the right. Sometimes a plate in the left hand, shake hands with the right. And with them, you know, maybe both in the left hand, still shaking hands with the right.
Yes.
But regardless, I really enjoyed sitting with them. And you know, there was some trepidation for them at the beginning. When Pops had invited them, they were like, we've never done a podcast before. I don't know how this is going to go, or, you know, but one, they wanted to still, you know, get their business out there.
Right.
And it was really important for us to speak to them about this kind of topic, because it was just around the holidays. Right. And so we knew everybody was in like this odd space.
Not seeing family.
Right.
Are you doing a Zoom Thanksgiving? Like, it's awkward. Nobody knows what to do right now.
Exactly. And they just gave such great ideas.
They did.
They gave awesome ideas. Actually, I like replayed just a portion of it. My sister's vegan, and we played this portion of this thing about that thing about the acorn squash, that whole recipe that they had. Yeah, you got to talk mashed potatoes with them.
I'll talk mashed potatoes any day. But yeah, with them especially, I was excited because you're an expert mashed potatoer. So tell me more.
Is that a thing?
It is now.
The expert mashed potatoer.
But they also gave us a recipe. If you go to our Instagram, St. BizPod, we've got a recipe from them. Little crostinis.
Yeah. And that was a popular recipe too. That one got a lot of hits. And so we're really happy for them, and actually still in talks with them to come over and maybe even do some kind of YouTube display kind of things where they'll actually cook. You know, Curtis is a monster. Curtis is a monster in the kitchen. Yeah.
And creative. He told us he watches Food Network shows and recreates the food. I mean, I watch the shows and say like, I'll make that, and then I never do.
Yeah.
But he actually does.
I watch the shows and just lick my lips.
Exactly. Well, I go find something to eat.
Eat popcorn while they're cooking amazing food.
Exactly.
So we've got this beautiful kitchen over here at the studios too. And, you know, hopefully we can get them over here and do some kind of, you know, at least some tabletop displays and stuff. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Who's next?
Senor David Zumaya.
That's my guy.
We can speak Spanish or we can't. Doesn't matter. It's just about, we all got one language, is business.
That's right.
How do we support each other?
Yeah, and we need that support.
Everybody still has to have a sale. Everybody still needs to have some type of transaction. Everybody still has to have a bank account. Somebody still is paying taxes and all that stuff. It's all the same language. It's just a matter of let's help each other out.
David is awesome. David is such a busy guy, always out and around town and everything, really, really, really active on social media, and everybody in the area knows him. And one of the things I really liked about him during the episode was when he was talking, about the community.
Yeah.
He was really talking about bringing all the communities together, but he really has pride in his location, right? His area. And he's saying how all of the cities are all part of one.
Right.
And, you know, he wanted to make sure that, you know, we get put on the map, right? San Diego County, third largest county in the country, right? It's a huge county.
Yeah.
But, you know, North County, he says, sometimes gets overlooked because of Metro San Diego. And so he just really wants to make sure that everything, all of the great sites, food, and, you know, businesses in the area all get some shine and some notice. So I'm really happy for him and how hard he's working for others, because all of that comes back to you.
And he's kind of doing something that nobody else has done before. I mean, he's noticed that there's a huge community up in North County. No one's putting it together, saying, hey, you're doing that, you're doing this, let's get together and do it together.
He's a pioneer.
So that's great.
He's a pioneer out
Absolutely.
here. So we're really happy for him. Anybody who wants to connect with him, please go back and listen to that episode. It was a really good one.
Definitely.
Go back and listen to all these episodes. And that's kind of why we're doing this recap. It's just kind of remind you guys, or at least give you a little synopsis of what we picked up during the episodes. And I assure you that you'll pick up much more.
Definitely.
If you listen to those conversations. Who's next?
We have the Chamber of Commerce episode.
Yes,
Rachel and
let's
Rick.
Go. Rachel bailed and Rick won guidance.
I went in for my interview, and the first thing he said was, "Can you sell?" And I'm like, "Oh crap! I'm in the wrong interview. I'm here for media relations." And so I quickly realized just from talking to him and getting to be friends with him that it was important to be able to be multifaceted and do many things. And being able to generate revenue was the thing that you could do that would lead to a lot of other things that you really enjoy.
That was a very good, and you know what?
Really?
It was a podcast that had to happen.
Yes.
Right. It was almost forced to happen.
Yes.
Because throughout all of the other podcasts, everybody says, go to your local chamber.
Yeah. Check out your chamber. They'll help you. Talk to your chamber. Who's the chamber?
Right. So now we sit down with the chamber and we say, okay, who are you guys? Right.
Yeah.
Of course, we know who they are. But the fact of the matter is, we also told the story the same way. Same business, different day.
Right.
We told the story from their beginnings, their life, and how they became CEOs of their chambers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was so important. We didn't just come to them and just say, okay, how do you help businesses?
It's not just sell yourself.
Yeah.
It's tell us who you are personally and why we should listen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they were, they showed how much they are a part of the business community. And it's clear how important they are.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say I'm important. It's clear how important they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it was clear before from the episodes before when they were all explaining that.
Mm-hmm. They're
They're all saying, go to your local chamber.
Yeah.
And now we had those guys in studio, and I'm telling you, those stories were amazing.
They were.
And I love that they didn't come from San Diego, right? They both came in. Rick came from Ohio? I believe it was Iowa or Ohio. I get those confused sometimes.
That's 4 letters.
4 letters, and it's almost pronounced the same. And then Rachel came in from Texas.
Right. And
I just remember, I love her story about where she was, speaking, and they said, we're looking, to hire you.
And after my speech, someone approached me and said, hey, we're a city, we own a water park, and we're looking for a marketing and group salesperson. Would you be interested in applying? We loved what you had to say. And I said, I'm pretty happy and living in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, doing my thing. And they said, okay, well, we're in San Diego if you ever change your mind. And I was like, wait, come back, wait, tell me more about San Diego.
And so she wound up coming out here, and so we're glad that she did. And, we still work closely with her, and we're glad to call her and Rick friends. Just awesome folks.
Yeah.
And it really was a great conversation. And they are as great resources as you will hear in the, in the conversation. They're good people. So they're easy to approach and as helpful as they sound.
Mm-hmm. For me, I'm sort of a business outsider. Like I said, I don't own my own business. So I never really thought about the Chamber of Commerce. Like I knew it existed, but I didn't know what it did or what it was for. But now doing this podcast, I realize, even as a business, I don't own my own business. The chamber is something that I could get involved in.
Right.
And that episode is just for me, it taught me something of no, this is part of your community. It's something that you can have a say in.
Yeah.
Then they had a lot to teach me.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That was awesome. It was awesome. It really was. So one of the things, I'm going to take a break right here and talk about I said that I would make some changes. What am I going to change for season 2 versus this first season?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to change. That's why I diverted just now, because I keep saying awesome. It was awesome.
It's awesome.
It was awesome.
Awesome, dude.
That was awesome. That conversation was awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I've got a lot of iterations in my life, but at one point I lived in Manhattan Beach. I think that's where I picked that up. Things were rad too. Which
that's a good one.
Yeah,
rad,
things were rad sometimes.
Rad. I like it. Go with that. We're from California.
I'm bored. Cali born and raised. What am I going to do? I've lived close enough to the Pacific Ocean all my life.
There you
so,
go.
All right, who do we have next?
Next up was the powerhouse, Julie Lowen.
Do you know what the plan was?
I wish I could tell you I did. I wish I could tell you.
You just knew that wasn't the right.
I was simply determined. And I think that so many times what entrepreneurial people do is they say you have to know what you're going to do in order to be able to set out on a path to do it. That's not my path. My path was ultimately unknown. I knew I wasn't doing that. What was I doing? I wasn't sure, but I continued to get an education. So anytime I could afford to take a class at the local community college, I did.
Oh, man. She was so powerful. I mean, you know, if you guys could have heard what was in the pre-interview, then, you know, you would even be more blown away by this conversation. Like, you thought she shared it all during the interview. She didn't share it all. She's got so much more. We could bring her back for 2 or 3 more times, and it would be more than all of us could handle.
She has it all.
Yeah.
She does it all.
Yeah. And she's involved. She's 100% involved.
I don't know how she has more than 24 hours a day, I think. The rest of us have 24. Right? Julie has like 29 hours.
Yeah. She was great. Listen, I hope you have all listened to that episode. It was a monster. It was, I mean, she is a powerhouse. Actually, I listened back to the episode maybe 2 or 3 times. We couldn't have had a better guest for conversation. She was amazing, and it was an amazing story.
Yeah,
I mean, unbelievable story.
Yeah, she's another one of those that hardships and overcoming and making it happen. Yeah, you know, looking at herself and saying, "No, you can do it. Yeah, and get it done now."
Yeah. And I mean, and she spoke names too. She called a lot of people out who were either a part of, you know, what helped her become who she is, or who, you know, tried to hold her back.
Right.
I think, I mean, it was a movie. That's really what it was. It was an audio version of a movie.
The biopic of Julie Lowen.
Yeah. You guys check that out and just close your eyes and you know, visualize what's happening, because I mean, she painted pictures, and that's the truth. Please check out that episode with Julie Lowen.
Definitely.
All right.
After Julie, I was kind of nervous about this one.
Okay.
Which you knew about going in. It was Glenn Henry, Mr. Beleaf.
That's what's jacking me up with entrepreneurship, because I love like being able to provide for my family, but balancing everything. Like work-life balance is just a joke right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like a cruel, like, are you kidding me? You want to balance? You know what I'm saying? Like, I could juggle. Like when I could catch something when it's falling. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could hold on to it and throw it back up in the air. But I'm juggling. I'm not balancing well. You know, that's not something I'm not. Ooh,
you're talking about a powerhouse. I mean, maybe our best interview. I mean, you talk about honesty. Somebody who really put themselves out there, who really, you know, lived out loud. Just, you know, not just for us, really, because he's all over the place, like, you know, social media wise, but even for us. You know, he laid it all out there for us and really told us, you know, what was on his mind, what he's been going through in life personally, business wise. And, you know, I tell you, I see him almost every day. And even since that episode, he's so busy, it's still usually just a peace sign. And that's okay, because I know he's out there doing good for his family and his community.
Definitely.
And I mean, just an awesome, busy guy.
Yeah.
Now, why were you nervous?
Because I know, you know, the work he's doing is so important, and I know how busy he is. I was like, I don't want to waste his time.
You know what's crazy?
I want to get the right story. And
he left the movie set. He left his film set. He was doing a film. He left the film set to come give us an hour.
Yeah.
You know, that's the behind the scenes of it.
Right.
Isn't that amazing? Right. You know, he took his time out for that.
So I think that's partly why I was nervous. I mean, just his persona itself, he his charisma, it's something, you know, he's shining. And so you sort of have to like check yourself.
Okay.
But then also just knowing that he's giving us an hour of his time, I was like, I got to make it worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, I think
we did. Yeah.
I think the content of that podcast, that episode goes down in history. To be completely honest with you, I think that the conversation that we had, excerpts of that can be taken out for history books. Seriously. And if anybody, if you haven't heard it yet, you need to go back and listen to it. You know, I'm not speaking lightly about this. And it's not just because it has something to do with us. And in fact, maybe I'm saying anytime you get a chance to hear him speak, listen, you know, yeah, he's out, he's done his TED Talk. He's got his YouTube channel. He's got that great film, Black Joy is Magic. You can pull out excerpts from that podcast and use that as a thesis statement.
Yeah.
The man is, and it was amazing. And so I was really glad that we finally got the chance to sit down with him. And I don't care how local we sound, you know, at least up until this point as a podcast, what he's saying is big time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anybody could listen to that and learn from it. And he's speaking out for his community. He is sharing stories to let the world know, you know, this is normal. This is what's happening. This is what people don't think about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was awesome. So, and then our final episode of the season.
My favorite episode.
Yeah, that was a great time. We really did have a good time. I mean, we recorded that just before New Year's. So, yes. I mean, the party had already started.
Yeah, we were the party.
Who was on that podcast?
We had Paige and Chris.
Yes.
I went in trying to get a international business degree because I thought I needed a degree like that to have a career and to eventually go into law. And after one semester, I was like, this is really difficult. I'm not enjoying being in school whatsoever under this degree. And I remember going to my parents and just being like, this is really hard, and crying. And they were like, do what you need to do. Like, they've always just been super supportive.
We didn't know the nuances of what it meant to be a brewery in San Diego when there was almost 100 breweries at the time. So when we opened, it was a lot of just figuring our own stuff out. And Paige had reached out a few months in and asked us if we'd like to become a member. And honestly, we didn't know what that meant. But the amount of support we got from the community once we joined up, the amount of resources that we were given, the amount of connections that were given, just that kind of stuff made that first year to 2 years a whole lot easier. We didn't have to feel like we're in it alone. And I think that holds a lot of weight.
Even though I pronounced Chris Anaclito's name wrong in the intro and the outro.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, sorry, Chris. But it certainly wasn't a slight to him. And, such great information. Yes. And it was our first time taking in, caller, emails from,
we
outside
fan
listeners.
Questions, listener questions. That was exciting. Yeah, that was cool.
And I'm glad that they were open to answering those questions. It really turned into a great conversation for, business in general, not just the beer drinkers. Yeah. Even though afterwards, you're talking about behind the scenes afterwards, Chris still tried to convince me or at least debate with me about why I don't drink beer. But I'm holding strong, guys, for all of us non-beer drinkers.
And for you beer drinkers, don't worry, I'm still going in.
I'm
still drinking.
It really was a really good talk. And I'm telling you, Paige is so important in the community, in the beer community, just in general, not just San Diego. She's, the executive director of the San Diego Brewers Guild. I don't know who she's bringing in next as president, but I'm sure she'll make the right choice. I mean, you're talking about somebody who's connected. Paige is connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We were talking afterwards and, we would mention someone and she was, oh, I know his nephew and because of this and because of that.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Wow, I need to know more about you.
Have you tasted their pizza?
Yeah.
I mean, she knows her way around. And so I think that was awesome. And I really just a genuine conversation, a fun conversation. I think Chris took a little bit of offense that I had everybody drinking wine instead of beer, but we caught up at
He even brought his own beer.
Yeah,
he was like, hey guys.
Yeah.
Here I am. The fun thing about that episode was that Paige and Chris knew each other so well.
Yeah.
Like beforehand, they were sort of making fun of each other. And then just on the air, I think they fed off of each other. And I think that was fun for everybody. Yeah, it was good
chemistry.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like me and you. I think they should do a podcast together.
There you go.
Yeah.
All about beer. I'll listen.
You'll listen.
I'm here for that.
Okay. So like we said, we are, really excited that, for all of the energy that you guys put behind season 1, we had a ball doing it. We interviewed, obviously you can hear our enthusiasm about all of our guests, and we're going to continue to have guests on that we know can inspire us and inspire you all as well. And like I was saying at the beginning, we're going to keep interviewing other industries. We're not going to just stick to one business. We're not sticking in one place, because really what we're talking about is the people who started the businesses, the people who are running the businesses and where they come from, because then we don't have to differentiate ourselves from them. We can be them. We can be just like them. And I encourage you all, if you're sitting on the couch and you're thinking, maybe I could, maybe I should, but this pandemic or whatever your excuses and reasons are, I encourage you to get up. And I encourage you to get out there and take those steps, just like Joe Green taught you, just like Storm Chadwick said, because that's what they did. And so listen back to those episodes if you need a little more energy, if my voice isn't doing it for you. But we are going to keep talking to these other industries no matter what. So if you are an industry or a business out there that wants to get your voice heard and you've got a story to tell, you've got an important story to tell, contact us. Contact us on social media at SameBizPod, SameBizPod, or you can email us at samebizpod@gmail.com. But we will tell you though, season 1, that's done. Season 2, we're expanding. We're going to get out to more. We're going to go statewide and national. It's going to be more Zoom conversations. We're going to get out there and talk to folks, even though we can't get in front of everybody face to face. We are connected and we will connect you with those people. So, season 1, it showed you our surroundings. It showed you what we're dealing with, but we've got so much more to offer and so much more to show you. You can learn from these professionals. You can learn from their experience, the experience of others. And it's not hard to learn. You listen, you learn, and you take notes, just like Alyssa does all the time.
All the time. Happy to do it. I'll share my notes. Just ask.
Any last words?
Yeah, I think most importantly is we have the listeners. We're doing this, 1, because we like hanging out with each other, but 2, because we do want to inspire. We want to help people. And we hope that people are listening in and getting ideas and moving forward, doing something because they heard Don Sando talk about something that he did and went, okay, I hadn't thought about that before. I'm going to do it now. And just building off of, we're going to try to involve more industries and dive deep and go a little bit more national. If you're listening and there is a route or a certain industry that you want to be involved in and start your own business in, and you want some ideas, shoot us a comment on Instagram or Facebook or even YouTube. Say, hey, do you know someone in this industry? Can you interview them? Give us some questions. We're more than happy to reach out and get those answers for you, because that's what we're here for. That's what Same Business Different Day is about. It's about getting other people started by listening to the people who've done it before.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And like Joe Green said, thank you, Same Business Different Day.
Love Joe Green.
Peace. We'll see you season 2.
Can't wait. Thanks, everyone.